Well, let's turn now for a look at our first weather with meteorologist Justin Liles. Justin, is the worst over?
The worst of the rain is over, but what we are going to see is more flooding because a lot of rivers are going to rise. Now, that video we just watched is kind of makes my stomach churn just because there's people playing out in the water, and as Paige just mentioned, there could be a little bacteria in there. Don't go in the water, and a lot of you, as you can see there in the green, that is where flooding is occurring, and that is on major rivers. Now, from Cloquet to Carlton to Oliver area.
We're going to start today with severe weather threatening parts of the Northland. Let's go right over to meteorologist Justin Liles, who's in the Weather Center. Where is this moving, Justin?
Well, it's starting to move into our area right now. Roads will definitely deteriorate. You can see we have that winter storm warning until noon on Friday that impacts all of the Northland.
Let's check in with Justin Liles down at the Boat Sports Travel and RV Show. How are things going down there, Justin?
You know, things are actually going pretty well. There's a lot of...
Now, if you were to lay down, one of the...
Justin?
Hello, Elsa. What happened to a typical Northland winter? We averaged 79 inches of snowfall, and last year finished with only 44 inches of snow.
We start our team coverage with meteorologist Justin Liles, who's here to break down what we can expect as the night wears on.
Well, first of all, we have to know that we have that winter storm warning that goes until noon tomorrow, but we are expected to see these conditions worsen.
Justin, a great evening to do just about anything outside tonight.
That is jazz hands if I've ever heard it. Yeah, right there. That sounded great. Speaking of which, it was a great evening to be outside. Let's go ahead and look, starting at what we had this evening. Of course, we had beautiful gardening conditions out there if you needed to go garden. But we're looking at calm conditions, 61 degrees, and the barometric pressure on the rise. We're looking at 54 right now, 50 in Silver Bay, 61 on top of the hill down by the lake, 61, 56 in Ashland, and down towards Siren, we're looking at 60 degrees, 50s north along the range. Now, what we have going on in play is a large area of high pressure located right there in the middle. Now, all of this is going to be sliding eastward, but you can see the circulation around it going in that clockwise motion. Eventually, this is going to slide eastward, and as it does, we'll get into a southerly flow, which means we're going to see some showers approaching later tomorrow night into Friday, very scattered, and then we're also going to be looking at some humidity heading our way by the time we get into the weekend. And it's going to be a rather busy weekend here across the Northland. You can see Thursday, Friday, Saturday, not too shabby. Now, Thursday night into Friday is when we're looking at a little bit of rain. Southwest wind 5 to 15. Wonderful day on Saturday. Now, I know there are a lot of you wondering about what's going on down in Bayfront Park tomorrow, because I know that there is a concert down there. Dirk Bentley in town along with Sarah Evans. You can see just a lovely evening on 68 degrees. A little cooler by the 10 o'clock time frame, maybe some clouds increasing by then. But if you didn't get your share of dancing on Thursday, don't worry, we have something more for you on Friday. Superior Street, there's a dance on the street there, but it looks like we are going to be looking at some scattered showers around that 10 p.m. time frame, 68 degrees at midnight. A few more clouds and maybe a few scattered showers there as well. Southwest wind 10 to 20 miles per hour. And let's not forget about Saturday, of course, a lot going on there as well. The good old Spooner Rodeo is this weekend, which actually starts tomorrow. But you're noticing some showers there on Friday too. But on Saturday, very humid, 82 degrees, 20% chance of some showers. And notice that Saturday is, and down to the south, east central Minnesota, west central Wisconsin, the only areas of the Northland are likely to possibly see some scattered showers, but it is a small chance. We'll get to your forecast details here in a second, but first a word of tonight's weather sponsor, Grand Rapids State Bank. All right, 30s, 40s out there tonight, a little cooler. May see some patchy fog developing, and we're looking at some warmer conditions by the lake. Much warmer tomorrow, plenty of sunshine with a lot of 70s, even some lower 80s in your neck of the woods. You can see down to South Hill City, 76 degrees, down toward Mille Lacs, same thing, but there are those chance of showers coming in Thursday and Friday. Notice here in the Twin Ports and northward on Saturday, a lot more sunshine. It's because the chance of showers likely going to be from east central Minnesota down towards southern Minnesota. So if you're in the cities on Saturday, you may run into a little bit of rain.
Okay, all right. Thanks for that very much, Justin.
But we're really going to see two waves. This first wave will come through between 1 and 4 p.m. And then if you notice right here, as the front comes sliding through, the warm front that's going to kind of just be stalled out through this area, we will see some stronger storms develop along and north of that warm front, along some of those leftover boundary layers that we have out there. So we are going to be looking at some stronger storms developing tomorrow night into Friday morning. So this will be the second wave, and we'll really start to see more toward the UP by early Friday morning. And so we're certainly looking at the potential for some stronger thunderstorms to develop during the overnight hours, and we'll continue to watch this as it starts to approach Northland here in the next few hours, Renee.
All right, thank you, Justin.
November 28th, 1905. According to shipping documents, the shipping season has been slow and industry bosses wanted to get in one last run. The bottom line depended on it. For the 24-member crew aboard the ore carrier Mataafa, their fate would bear witness to a tragic page in Duluth history.
We've been in the harbor waiting for a storm to pass. It's mid-morning and we're set to sail. The worst of the storm is over. Captain Dick Humble, the Mataafa.
They're looking at their primary weather instrument, which is a barometer. And when the barometer is rising, it indicates that the weather is going to be improving.
The steam-powered Mataafa, as documented in Kurt Brown's So Terrible a Storm, would leave the harbor Monday pulling the barge the Naismith. It was a common practice for ships to pull barges back then. Everything is smooth sailing to harbors until evening, when the captain notices the waves getting larger. The storm they had waited to pass earlier had come back for round 2.
It had picked up a lot more energy from Lake Superior, so the second time around it became a bigger, more violent storm.
At 2 o'clock early Tuesday morning, Captain Humble would later tell the News Tribune,
The sea had gotten so large that it was running over the decks from both sides, loosening hatch fastenings. Captain Richard Humble.
The Mataafa and the Naismith are in trouble, and Two Harbors offers no shelter. The captain must make a run for the Duluth harbor at all hazards.
They have following wind, following seas, very uncomfortable conditions. The barge is wandering around behind him, and he's thinking about what it's going to be like at the ship canal when they get there.
The harbor is near, and I decide to cut the rope that ties the ship to the barge. I've got to get this vessel into the harbor, and I can't do it attached to the smaller boat.
Humble navigates the bow or nose of the ship in between the ends of Duluth's two piers, when it is suddenly hit by two large waves. The first one smashes it right into one pier.
And the second one was so large that it raised the back of the boat up and forced the bow down so it hit the bottom.
Now the Mataafa is dead in the water. The wind and the waves turn the ship, smashing it into the pier, eventually splitting the ship in two. The ship is sinking and the weather is getting worse.
We're talking about temperatures that were well below freezing, some sub-zero temperatures here and there, blizzard conditions at times, total whiteouts, waves that are probably anywhere from about 12 to maybe as much as 20 feet.
It's now late Tuesday afternoon, approaching evening. Onlookers hear Captain Humble yelling through the megaphone that everyone is in the front of the ship that can get forward. What the captain doesn't know is the nose of the boat is taking on water fast. 9 of the crew members are facing certain death.
You can't do anything really about the crew that's at the stern of the boat.
Crew members near the rear of the Mataafa make a daring dash to the front. 4 men would try. Charles Byrne would recall the ordeal days later.
Every wave that came along would sweep my feet out from under me. I saw the fireman having a hard time of it and go overboard, but I could do nothing to save him. Crewman Charles Byrne.
Byrne and another man would make it. The fourth would be caught on camera clinging to the side. Mary McFadden, reporter for the Duluth News Tribune, would write,
Watchers held their breath. The wave crashed down and he was seen clinging to something on the side of the boat. The crowd cheered when he reached his feet and head back to the rear of the boat. Mary McFadden, Duluth News Tribune.
Several times people tried to rescue the crew, but were unsuccessful. Thousands of people watched from the shore, cuddling around bonfires to stay warm. The crew will have to wait out the storm.
The forward crew knew that 9 of their shipmates were stuck at the stern. They didn't know what was going on. The hundreds of people on the beach, they're just a stone's throw away from the wreck. You know, you could almost reach out and touch the crew, but you can't help them.
To stay warm, those in front of the boat would break furniture and start a fire in the bathtub of the captain's quarters. Those in back of the ship would pay the ultimate price.
4 of them were washed overboard and drowned. 4 of them were found frozen to death right on board. And one other sailor, a young man who was in really good condition, thought if he just jumped in the water and swam, he'd make it to shore. and he didn't make it. He was the 9th one who drowned.
14 hours later, early Wednesday morning, snow covered and damaged buildings. But on the mind of every Duluthian was the crew on the Mataafa. McFadden would write in Duluth's morning paper,
There is one prayer in the hearts of many, that the heroic crew of the Mataafa may, by some miracle, be brought back whole and safe to shore with daylight this morning.
It really was a pretty remarkable storm.
The Mataafa would sit in the harbor all winter long as a constant reminder of the tragedy that unfolded. Tourists would walk its decks and pose for pictures to be part of history. A piece of history never forgotten, and a tale of heartbreak and heroism. August 6, 1969. There are storms in the forecast. The day called for these storms to pass south of the Twin Ports. For the Norrell family vacationing at their cabin on Boulder Lake, the day would change their lives forever. It was 6:40 p.m. when it was raining, and the kids were watching Batman. Then chaos came knocking at their door.
The kitchen door flew open. I went over to grab it. I turned around, looked back in the cabin. I grabbed the door handle with my left hand, and I heard this creak, and it's the sound of nail being pulled from wood. And I looked up, and the cabin was an open raftered cabin. And I looked up, and the cabin was coming apart. I could see it 2-3 inches, and I could see light up above. And the next thing I knew, I was airborne.
The twister had sucked Dennis out of the cabin, throwing him 80 feet.
Somewhere in that time, I heard a lot of screaming. And it sounded like women screaming, and it could have been everybody, but there were 9 people left in the cabin.
When he got to his feet, the cabin was gone, and his family missing.
And then I saw Jody, my daughter. She was 9 then, and she was laying on her back, and she had apparently hit the pickup truck. And she was moaning, and her eyes were rolling and whatever, and I thought, man, this is not good.
Dennis had 8 more people to find.
My sister-in-law was the next person I found, and she had gone through the windshield of my car. And I tried to find something to show that she had a pulse.
Dennis's sister-in-law, Avis, was gone, and now must gather the strength to continue the search for his family.
I walked a few more feet, maybe 20 feet or so, and there were a pile of kids and my mother-in-law were all in a pile. They had all landed right before her car.
His mother-in-law had landed on top of the kids.
I lifted her off the kids and put her to the side, and I could tell that she also was gone.
The kids were fine, and Dennis had 8 of 10 family members accounted for. But where were his wife and 2-year-old son, Dean? Fear had now settled in.
I walked back toward where the cabin was, and my wife was about halfway back to the cabin, and she was laying on the ground, and I said to her, this is really bad. I said, I think your mother and Avis are gone.
But where was 2-year-old Dean?
I said, no, I can't find Dean, and you're gonna have to help me. So she got up and she said, my God, it's like a war.
The shock from the landscape and a missing 2-year-old somehow had given Dennis superhuman strength.
I was lifting wall sections and roof sections and floor sections and everything trying to find my son.
2-year-old Dean was found. Stripped of his clothes, lying naked in the field, he was having trouble breathing. His sister Jody already needing medical attention for her head injury, Dennis knew they needed a doctor. Someone had heard his prayer.
Dr. Bill Pollard owned the cabin and the home where we were at. He was the first person there. If you want somebody there, you'd like to have a doctor there.
2-year-old Dean would be fine, but 9-year-old Jody would face a tougher climb. Jody would be in a coma for a week and need special attention. She would not remember the day, but recalls the day her mom told her what happened.
I finally said, did anybody get hurt? And she said, yes. And I said, who was it? And she said, it was 2 people that you love very much. And I said, who was it? And she said, it was Grandma and Auntie Avis. And this makes me cry.
Jody still gets nervous when severe weather approaches, but who wouldn't after surviving the worst tornado disaster in Northland history? I'm meteorologist Justin Liles, Eyewitness News.